Okay, let's unpack this. For so many of you listening right now, tackling a phone call in English can feel like, well, like suddenly losing one of your most important senses, you know?
Absolutely.
All those visual cues, the subtle nod, the puzzled look, maybe a reassuring smile, they just vanish. Gone.
Completely gone.
You're left with just voices. Sometimes they're clear, easy to follow. Sometimes. Well, sometimes it honestly feels like they're speaking underwater or, at double speed.
Right. And even for people who've spoken English their whole lives, like us, a scratchy connection or someone just siring words at you can leave you feeling completely lost.
Exactly. And the source material we're really digging into today points this out right at the start, how much we actually rely on seeing the other person. Phone calls just strip that away.
They really do.
It makes clarity purely about what you say and what you manage to hear.
And that absence of body language, as the guide we're looking at really underscores, it removes this huge layer of communication, the stuff we intuitively use face to face.
Yeah, without even thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Right. It means the words you choose, the way you structure your sentences, even just your pace. It all becomes much, much more critical for making sure you both understand each other. It like really puts the mechanics of just verbal communication under a microscope in a unique way.
And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking closely at excerpts from a guide specifically designed for this exact challenge: how to handle phone calls in English.
Sounds like a really practical source.
It really is. It's not just, a dry list of words. It feels packed with incredibly practical phrases and techniques, all distilled for effectiveness. Think of it as like unlocking the specific language tools this source provides to build your confidence when you just can't see the other person.
Okay, so our mission with this deep dive then is to really thoroughly extract the most valuable techniques, the most useful language patterns presented in this guide. We want to give you a clear understanding of the fundamental strategies it identifies for, navigating phone conversations in English, whether they're pretty formal interactions or just casual chats with friends.
Exactly. The goal, and this lines up perfectly with what the source material itself sets out to do, is for you to finish this deep dive feeling, well, significantly more prepared, more confident for that next English phone call you have to make or take.
That's a great objective.
Yeah, absolutely. And the goals laid out in the guide, the things we really want to help you grasp from it today, are pretty concrete. Stuff like mastering how to start and end calls smoothly, naturally,
Okay.
building up a kind of ready toolkit of common phrases for different situations that, let's face it, are bound to pop up.
Like what to say when.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And knowing precisely how to ask for clarification when understanding breaks down, which, it happens to everyone.
Oh, definitely.
And ultimately, using these structures that the guide provides to sound, well, both confident and professional when you need to, or appropriately relaxed when it's more casual, it's all based on the specific advice right there in this guide.
And understanding these foundational elements, as they're systematically laid out in the source, it's just critical. Phone communication, it really demands a specific kind of linguistic precision
Precision, yeah.
because there's just less room for ambiguity, isn't there? Less room for misinterpretation that, a raised eyebrow or a nod might fix in person.
Right.
So having the right phrase at the right moment isn't just about being polite, though that's important too. It's fundamental. It's about being understood and understanding others in this, well, limited channel environment.
All right, then. Ready to really dig into these essential phone skills? We're pulling them directly from this practical guide. This is where we start building that confidence, one phrase at a time, really breaking it down.
Let's do it. Let's explore the guide's approach to actually navigating these calls, starting right at the beginning.
Makes sense. So the source material kicks off, quite logically, at the very start of a phone call. The initiation, the opening.
The first words out of your mouth.
Exactly. And it frames these opening moments as, well, pretty crucial for setting the tone for the whole conversation. It emphasizes that a clear, confident start really paves the way for a smoother call overall.
That tracks.
And it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? A hesitant or, fumbled opening can honestly rattle anyone, yourself included, making the rest of the call feel like a bit of an uphill battle.
Absolutely. You want to start strong. And the guide, it makes a fundamental distinction right away, a distinction that dictates the entire structure of how you open the call.
Okay, what's that?
It's all about who you are talking to. That determines how you should start the call. Simple as that, really.
Right.
It wisely divides these initial scenarios into three main types. First, calling a business or professional setting. Second, calling a friend, an informal setting. And third, the equally important skill of actually answering a phone call when you receive one.
Ah, covering both sides.
Good. Yeah, this structural approach, it really helps organize the right language patterns for the right situation.
Okay, let's tackle that first scenario the guide lays out. Calling a business or formal setting. The advice here sounds pretty straightforward, but essential. You need to sound polite and you need to sound professional.
Definitely.
And the source provides several key phrases designed for exactly this purpose. The focus seems to be on clarity and courtesy right from the word go.
It gives very specific scripts, actually, almost like mini scripts for initiating a formal call. And the pattern, you'll notice, involves clearly identifying yourself first and then stating your intention. That could be requesting to speak to someone specific, or it might be explaining the reason for your call right away.
Okay, so give us some examples from the guide.
Sure. So one really common structure is simply stating your name and then asking for the person you need, like this. Hello, this is Michael Johnson. May I speak with Sarah Miller?
Okay, let's break that down. Hello, standard formal greeting.
Yep. Then this is your name. This is Michael Johnson. Super clear identification, simple, direct, no room for confusion about who's calling.
Right.
And then the request, may I speak with Sarah Miller? Using may I is considered very polite. It's a standard modal verb for making requests in English, really suitable for formal situations.
And using the full name Sarah Miller, that helps the person answering know exactly who you need, especially if it's a bigger company.
Precisely. Now, another structure the guide presents involves identifying yourself, but also immediately stating the topic. This is really efficient in a business context.
Saves time.
Exactly. So an example is, good morning, this is Olivia Carter from Greenfield Bank. I'm calling regarding your account.
Okay, so here we've got the time-specific greeting, good morning. Still formal.
Right. Then clear self-identification. This is Olivia Carter, but also adding your affiliation from Greenfield Bank. That context is often vital in business calls. And then the purpose introduced with, I'm calling regarding. Or you could say, I'm calling about.
Yeah.
So I'm calling regarding your account. This gives the listener all the essential info right up front. Who you are, where you're from, and why you're calling. Really useful if you're calling on behalf of a company.
That's very clear. Any other variations the guide mentions?
Yeah. There's a third example showing a slightly different structure, maybe more for requesting a service or taking an action, like scheduling something.
Ah.
The example is, hi, this is David Thompson. I'm calling to schedule an appointment with Dr. Williams.
Okay, interesting. It uses hi there. I sometimes think of hi as a bit less formal than hello.
Well, that's a good point. And while hello is generally seen as more formal, the source includes hi here. It suggests that in some professional contexts, maybe particularly service-oriented ones like scheduling hi, followed by a very clear purpose statement, is acceptable and common.
Right, so the context matters.
It does. And the structure, I'm calling to verb, I'm calling to schedule, I'm calling to inquire, I'm calling to confirm. That's a very, very common and direct way to state your objective right at the start. Name, then bam, here's why I'm calling.
That's really useful how the guide breaks down those different, angles for starting a formal call. But what I think is incredibly helpful, something the source anticipates, is what happens when you don't know the specific person's name you need.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
All the time. You need, say, customer service or the billing department, but you don't have a contact name. What does the guide say about that?
It absolutely covers that. The guide includes phrases specifically for this scenario. You basically just replace the person's name with their function, their job title, or the department name. The polite structure stays the same, but the target of your request shifts.
Okay, examples.
Sure. The guide gives these. Hello, this is Emma Scott. May I speak with someone in the customer service department?
Ah, okay. So the core request is, may I speak with someone in department name?
Exactly. That's the standard way to get connected to the right area when you lack a specific contact. It's precise enough for the person answering to understand exactly where to direct your call.
Makes sense.
And another example, this time using a job title. Hi, this is Daniel Parker. I'd like to speak with the hiring manager about a job opening.
Okay, so here it uses, I'd like to speak with, instead of may I.
Right. I'd like to. The contraction of I would like to is another very polite alternative for making requests. It's very common. And here, you clearly state who you need by their role, the hiring manager, and crucially, why, about a job opening. This helps the operator or receptionist route the call correctly.
So both those examples show how you just adapt that core polite request structure when you don't have a specific name. Very practical.
Very. It handles a really common situation.
Okay, so you've made the call. You've politely stated who you want to reach or why you're calling. But, life happens. The guide seems realistic about this. Things don't always go exactly to plan.
Not always, no.
It wisely includes examples of the typical responses you might get if the person you're trying to reach isn't actually available right then. And being prepared for those responses is just as important as knowing how to make the request in the first place, I think.
It really is. Knowing what you might hear prepares you for the next step in the conversation, which very often is going to be leaving a message.
Right.
So the guide shows you the kind of language you'll likely encounter. Common responses include something like, "I'm sorry, Sarah is in a meeting right now. Would you like to leave a message?"
Okay, so I'm sorry, signals unavailability.
Yeah.
Then a reason. In a meeting. Polite.
Yep, and then the direct offer. "Would you like to leave a message?" That's the absolute standard offer you'll hear.
Got it. Any other examples?
Another one. "Unfortunately, Dr. Williams is out of the office today. Can I take a message for you?"
Similar pattern. Unfortunately, signals the bad news they're not available. Reason. Out of the office today.
Right. And the offer is phrased slightly differently, but means the same thing. "Can I take a message for you?" Both of these responses clearly tell you the person's not there and smoothly guide you towards that next logical step, leaving your information.
And understanding those phrases means you're not suddenly confused or thrown off when you hear them. You recognize, okay, they're not available. Now we're probably going to talk about messages.
Exactly. The source material, it proactively prepares you for that really common scenario of the person just not being there. So you aren't caught off guard. You aren't left wondering, oh, what do I do now? You're kind of queued up to expect the option of leaving a message.
Yeah.
Which, as you said, we'll get to in more detail later.
Perfect. Okay, so that covers the formal call initiation pretty thoroughly.
Which segues nicely, actually, into the complete opposite style of initiating a call, the informal setting.
Right, okay. Subsection 1.2 in the guide. This is calling a friend, a casual call. And here, the source notes, quite rightly, a dramatic shift. Complete change in tone and language.
Huge difference.
The opening here can be much more relaxed, much more personal, natural. It reflects the existing relationship you have with the person. It basically throws those formal structures out the window.
It really does. And the guide provides some excellent examples of these casual openings. They tend to prioritize warmth, and maybe checking the person's availability or just their general state before you dive into why you're actually calling.
So less direct, maybe. More about connection first.
Often, yeah. Though some are pretty direct, too. Here's some phrases listed in the source. "Hey, Jake, what's up?"
Super common. Can't get much more standard casual greeting than that.
Exactly. "Hey" is the default casual hello among friends. And "what's up?" It's that informal idiom, basically asking, "how are you?" Or maybe, "what are you doing right now?" It's just the general check-in before you get into the meat of the conversation.
Okay, what else?
"Hi, Emily, do you have a minute?"
Still uses hi, which we saw could sometimes be okay formally, but here it feels different.
It does. And it's immediately followed by that check for convenience.
Yeah.
"Do you have a minute?" Or you might hear, "Are you free?" It's polite, even in a casual chat, just acknowledging your friend might be in the middle of something.
Good point.
Another one. "Hey, Alex, how's it going?"
Similar to what's up, right? Just asking how they are.
Pretty much. A general check-in about their well-being or current situation. Standard friendly opening.
And one more.
"Hi, Sophie. Are you free to talk now?"
Very similar to, do you have a minute? But just explicitly asking if now is a good time.
Exactly. Just confirming their schedule allows for a chat right then.
And what's really insightful is that the guide doesn't just list these phrases. It actually points out why they sound casual, which helps you understand the underlying principle.
That's the key, understanding the why.
Yeah. It notes that in these informal calls, we use first names immediately, right? We often use contractions like what's or how's, and we rely on those really casual greetings like hey or what's up instead of the more formal hello or, good morning, afternoon. It's all about mirroring the level of intimacy, the familiarity you have in that relationship. You wouldn't normally call your boss and say, hey, what's up?
Probably not. Unless maybe you work at a very, very relaxed startup.
Right. Just like you probably wouldn't call your best friend and announce, good afternoon, this is your full name I am calling regarding. It would sound bizarre.
Completely bizarre. That mirroring is absolutely key to sounding natural, as the guide implies. And it also includes the casual equivalent of that person isn't available scenario.
Ah, okay. what to do if your friend doesn't answer.
Yeah. The source just suggests leaving a short voicemail or maybe sending a quick text message. It provides a very typical example like, "Hey, Jake, it's Peter. Give me a call back when you're free."
Short and sweet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Short identifies who called, it's Peter, and gives a simple call to action phrased very casually, "Give me a call back." No need for formal closings or detailed messages. Just enough information.
Okay, great. So we've covered making calls, both the buttoned-up formal way and the relaxed casual way, understanding the different approaches the source recommends. Now, subsection 1.3 in the guide shifts our focus. We're moving to the other side of the interaction, answering the phone when you receive a call.
Equally important skill.
For sure. And the guide points out that just like initiating a call, how you answer is also determined by the context. Is it a formal situation or a casual one?
Indeed. The way you answer really sets the stage for the caller. So for formal calls, let's say you're answering a dedicated business line, or maybe your professional mobile number. The guide provides structured and informative phrases. They're designed to immediately orient the caller.
Give us the examples.
Okay, from the source. "Hello, thank you for calling Anderson & Co. This is Daniel speaking. How can I help you?"
Wow, that's comprehensive. Let's break that down.
Okay. "Hello, polite greeting. Thank you for calling Anderson & Co." Acknowledges the caller and confirms the place they've reached. Very important.
Right, they know they're not dialing wrong.
Exactly. Then, "This is Daniel speaking," clearly identifies the person who answered. And finally, "How can I help you?" The standard open-ended offer of assistance. This whole package gives the caller immediate confidence they've reached the right place, the right person potentially, and that their query is welcome.
Very professional. Is there another one?
Yep, slightly different phrasing. "Good afternoon, this is Jennifer from Elite Marketing. How may I assist you today?"
Similar structure again. Time-specific greeting, good afternoon.
Right. Identification including company. "This is Jennifer from Elite Marketing," speaker's name. And then a slightly more formal phrasing for offering help. "How may I assist you today?" instead of "How can I help you?" Both are perfectly fine. May just sounds a touch more formal, maybe.
So these formal answers are really designed for clarity, professionalism, and, I guess, efficiency, getting the call moving in the right direction quickly,
Precisely.
and then flipping back to the casual side again for answering. As we'd expect by now, it's much more relaxed, mirroring that informal calling style. What does the source suggest here?
Straightforward, personal ways to answer if you know or suspect. It's a friend calling. Examples like, "Hey, it's Alex."
Right. Especially useful maybe if you're calling from a number your friend doesn't have saved, or maybe just to sound friendly and confirm who it is. It's your name. Simple.
Very common.
Yeah.
Or, "Hello, what's up?"
Combining the standard hello, which is fine casually too, with that informal what's up check-in we saw earlier.
Yep. And another, "Hi, Sophie, how's your day going?"
Ah, this one implies you recognize the caller's number, right? Because you use their name, Sophie.
Presumably, yes.
Yeah.
So you personalize it right away by using their name and then asking a friendly, open question about their day. Very warm.
So the guide really nails that distinction again. Formal answers are structured. They prioritize giving necessary info like company name, your name, offering service. Casual answers are relaxed, warmer, often just focusing on identifying yourself or a simple greeting and check-in.
It summarizes it perfectly.
And you know, something really valuable the source includes isn't just telling you these phrases, but actively urging you to practice them.
Ah, the practice element. Crucial.
Yeah, it suggests a simple practice exercise right after giving these examples. It says, imagine you're answering a business call and actually say the example phrase out loud, like, "Hello, this is Michael from Greenfield Bank. How can I help you?"
Get it off the page and into your mouth.
Exactly. And it makes the crucial point that vocalizing the phrase, trying it out physically, feeling how it flows, that's key to getting comfortable. It helps you sound genuinely confident when you use it in a real situation. You can read the words 100 times, but until you say them, they don't quite feel natural, do they?
No, they don't. That element of physical practice, actually speaking the words, it's often overlooked, but it makes a tremendous difference in your delivery. Simply reading words off a page is totally different from producing them smoothly, confidently, in real time when someone's on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
And a strong introduction, like the source notes, it signals confidence of the listener right away. Practicing helps you project that confidence much more effectively.
Okay, so we've really covered the start of the call, initiating and answering, formal and casual. Now, the guide logically transitions into those essential phrases you're going to need during the conversation itself, once the call is actually underway.
Right. Section 2 in the source material is dedicated to building that toolkit of phrases for common interactions that happen mid-call.
Makes sense. You need language for navigating the core purpose of the call, too?
Especially in formal contexts where there are often standard procedures to follow.
Okay, so subsection 2.1 addresses asking for someone. Now, you might have already done this at the start, but maybe you reached a general operator or receptionist first. So you might need to be connected to someone specific during the call.
Exactly. And the source provides polite and standard ways to make this request mid-call, consistent with that formal tone we established earlier. The examples it gives include, "May I speak with Jessica Adams, please?"
There's that may I speak with name structure again. Very versatile.
Very. Works at the start, works mid-call. And notice the addition of please at the end. Always good to add that for extra politeness in formal requests.
Definitely. Other ways. Checks their presence.
Yes, it's a perfectly standard and polite way to ask. And another one, echoing that structure for when you don't know the name but know the department. Could I speak to someone in the billing department?
Ah, using could I this time.
Right. Could I speak to is another polite modal verb construction. It offers a slight variation on may I speak with or can I speak with. It's very useful if you've perhaps been talking to someone in one department and realize you need to be transferred to another, like billing.
Okay, those are clear ways to ask. And helpfully, the source brings back those potential responses you might get if the person still isn't available, reinforcing that this whole exchange is a common part of the phone communication workflow.
It normalizes it.
Yeah, it lists again. I'm sorry, Jessica is not available right now. Would you like to leave a message? And Mark is out of the office at the moment. Can I take a message?
Seeing these reiterated really underscores how standard this sequence is, doesn't it? You ask for someone, you might be told they're unavailable, and then you'll likely be offered the chance to leave a message. It makes the whole interaction feel less daunting when you recognize that predictable pattern.
Totally. You know what to expect.
Absolutely. And knowing these responses helps you anticipate the conversation flow. You can quickly decide your next step. Okay, do I leave a message? Do I ask when they might be back? Or maybe, can I speak to someone else who might be able to help me?
Good point. Okay, next up in the guide, subsection 2.2 deals with actions that are super common in formal or business calls. Putting someone on hold and transferring calls.
Ah, yes, the hold music experience.
Exactly. These are standard procedures, and knowing the language around them is essential, whether you're the one doing it or the one being put on hold or transferred.
Definitely. The guide gives us the phrases used when you are the one managing the call. Maybe you need a moment to look something up, or you need to connect the caller to a colleague or a different department.
What does it suggest saying?
The most basic is, please hold for a moment.
Short, direct, polite. Tells them exactly what to do.
Yep. But often it's better to be a bit more communicative. So the guide suggests, can I put you on hold for a moment while I check that for you?
Ah, I like that better. It asks permission using can I, which is polite.
Right. And it also explains why you need to put them on hold while I check that for you. Giving that brief reason manages their expectations, makes the hold feel less abrupt, less like you've just disappeared.
Good tip. And for transferring.
The guide gives examples like, let me transfer you to the sales department.
Okay. Let me action feels like a clear statement of intent. You're telling them what you're about to do for them.
Exactly. And you're stating the destination department clearly. Or, another phrasing, I'll connect you with Lisa in customer service.
Similar idea, I'll connect you with. And specifying the person's name, Lisa, if you know it, is probably helpful for the caller. Gives them a name to listen out for.
It can be, yes.
Right.
Both are standard ways to signal a transfer.
Okay, but what's really crucial, and the guide includes this too, is showing you what you might hear if someone puts you on hold or transfers you. Understanding the other side is vital.
Yes, because being on hold is such a common experience. And the language used when they come back signals what's happening. So when someone returns after putting you on hold, the guide says you might hear phrases like, thank you for holding, I appreciate your patience.
Polite acknowledgement of the wait. Signals the hold is over.
Exactly. Or maybe, sorry for the wait, how can I assist you?
Starts with an apology for the delay, then gets back to the purpose of the call.
Right. Hearing these phrases signals the end of the hold and the resumption of the actual conversation. Understanding them means you're not just waiting blindly. You recognize the cues that indicate the process is moving forward again.
It really highlights that these phrases aren't just for you to use, are they? They're also for you to recognize when other people use them with you. It kind of demystifies those standard procedures you always encounter on formal calls.
Exactly. Knowing the scripts helps you participate confidently and understand what's happening effectively.
Okay, makes sense. Now, subsection 2.3 circles back to something we kind of anticipated earlier, leaving a message. When the person you wanted isn't available, how do you actually make sure your message gets relayed? The guide provides straightforward ways to handle this.
Yes, it offers concise and clear phrases for asking the person you're speaking to, often an assistant or a colleague or a receptionist, to take down a message for the person you couldn't reach.
What are the examples?
Things like, could you take a message for John?
Nice and simple. Uses could you, which is a polite request form. Then the action take a message, and the recipient for John. Unambiguous.
Very. Another one, can you tell Emma that I called?
This feels a bit simpler, maybe slightly less formal.
Perhaps slightly. It's often used when the main point of your message is just the fact that you called, maybe implying you want them to call you back. Can you tell name that I called? Is a really common, efficient message format.
Okay.
And a third example, where you include the message content. Please let Daniel know I'll call back later.
So here you're giving the actual information to pass on. Please let name know information.
Exactly. That's a standard structure for asking someone to relay specific info. And this example also includes a clear statement of your own intention, I'll call back later, which would be really helpful context for the person who gets the message.
These phrases seem like really practical tools. They make sure that even if you can't speak directly to the person you intended to, you can still effectively convey your purpose or, your contact information or what happens next. They cover the core outcomes when someone isn't available.
They really do. They provide you, the listener, with the necessary language to manage this very, very common phone scenario confidently and clearly.
Okay. Now let's shift gears a bit and address the part that the source identifies as potentially the trickiest. And honestly, I think this is where many people feel the most anxiety on the phone.
I can guess what's coming.
Yeah, section 3. Handling the tricky parts. Specifically, asking for clarification. Because, let's be real, on the phone, where connections can be bad, background noise is a thing, and you absolutely cannot see if someone is following you, it's incredibly easy to miss something or misunderstand.
Happens all the time.
All the time. And the guide presents clarification phrases as the essential tools you need to overcome these hurdles without just, nodding silently and hoping for the best.
This section is so crucial because it directly tackles that inherent difficulty of phone communication, the lack of visual feedback. When you don't understand something, you have to interrupt politely and ask for clarification verbally. There's often no other way. And the source is really helpful here. It actually categorizes the kind of clarification you need based on why the communication broke down in the first place. That helps you choose the most appropriate phrase.
Okay, that sounds useful. What's the first category?
The first one the guide addresses is maybe the most basic. If you simply didn't hear something properly, maybe the connection crackled, maybe there was loud noise in the background, maybe they just spoke too quietly or mumbled a bit.
The audio input itself was the problem.
Exactly. When the audio is the issue, you need phrases that clearly signal you need the information repeated. The source provides these key examples. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Can't go wrong with that one. The classic.
It's arguably the most common, most universally polite way to ask for repetition. Starting with sorry just softens the interruption slightly, makes it feel less abrupt. And could you repeat that? Is direct, clear, everyone understands it.
Any others for just not hearing?
Yes. I didn't catch that. Could you say it again?
I didn't catch that. That sounds very natural, doesn't it?
It's a very natural, idiomatic expression in English. It just means I didn't hear or understand what you just said. It's maybe slightly more informal than just saying, could you repeat that? But it's incredibly widely understood and used all the time.
And you follow it up with, could you say it again, to make the request explicit.
Exactly. So these two phrases, sorry, could you repeat that? And I didn't catch that. Could you say it again? These are your absolute go-to phrases when noise or speed or technical glitches have caused you to simply miss the words.
Okay, good. But what if you heard the words perfectly clearly, but the meaning just wasn't clear? You heard it, but you're thinking, what does that actually mean?
Ah, right. That's the second category the guide covers. If you didn't understand something, this is different. It's a comprehension issue, not an audio one.
So you need a different kind of phrase.
You do. You need a request that asks for the meaning to be made clearer, not just for the same words to be said again. The source suggests phrases like, "Could you clarify what you mean?"
Clarify. That's the key word there, isn't it?
It is. You're politely asking the other person to explain their point in a different way, or perhaps add more detail, so the meaning becomes clearer for you. It signals that the issue isn't about your hearing, it's about your interpretation or understanding of their point.
Okay, another option.
I'm not sure I understand. Can you explain it another way?
This one feels very direct about the problem. I'm not sure I understand.
Yes, it states the issue clearly but politely, and then it requests a different approach to the explanation. Can you explain it another way?
Mm-hmm.
Using "can you" is a standard polite request form here. This phrase is particularly useful if the way they phrased something initially was maybe ambiguous or used jargon you didn't know, and you need them to rephrase it or provide more background context.
Got it. So, hearing versus understanding. Two different problems, two different sets of phrases.
Exactly.
And then there's the classic unavoidable phone call challenge we mentioned earlier, the dreaded bad connection. The third category the guide covers is specifically about dealing with those annoying audio issues. If the connection itself is bad.
All right, this is unique to phone calls or maybe VoIP calls, and it needs phrases that explicitly address the technical problem that's getting in the way.
What does the guide suggest for that?
Okay, these phrases are crucial for trying to troubleshoot the call itself, or at least get the other person to compensate for the poor audio quality. The guide provides, "I think we have a bad connection." Can you say that again?
Ah, okay. So you first state what you think the problem is. I think we have a bad connection. Diagnosing it.
Yes. And then you make the request for a repetition. Can you say that again?
Hmm.
This helps the other person understand why you're asking them to repeat. It frames it not as your fault, or necessarily theirs, but as a shared technical issue they might be able to help overcome, maybe by speaking louder or slower.
That's smart. Any other connection-specific phrases?
"You're cutting out." Could you repeat that?
Cutting out. That's the perfect description for when the sound keeps breaking up, isn't it?
It's the common idiomatic term, yes, when the audio is intermittent or broken. So again, you state the specific technical problem you're experiencing, you're cutting out, and then you request the repetition. These phrases are vital because they give a clear reason for your request, and they might prompt the other person to adjust how they're speaking, or maybe even check their own signal, or move somewhere with better reception if they can.
These clarification phrases, all of them, they feel really empowering because they give you the specific language you need to interrupt politely and actually manage those moments of breakdown or confusion, instead of just getting flustered or worse, pretending you understood when you didn't.
Which leads to bigger problems down the line, usually.
Right. And the source even doubles down on the importance of practicing these clarification phrases, too. It has another one of those suggested practice exercises. This time, it says, imagine the person on the other end is speaking way too fast, a super common phone issue, and practice saying out loud, "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again more slowly?"
Oh, that specific practice scenario is excellent. Asking someone to slow down can feel awkward, but speaking speed is a major hurdle on the phone, especially if you're dealing with different accents or just fast talkers.
Totally.
Having a polite, ready-made phrase to ask someone to slow down is invaluable. It shifts the focus, doesn't it? From you struggling silently to you proactively managing the pace of the conversation. And that's actually a sign of confident communication, not a sign of lack of ability.
That's such a good way to put it. It absolutely reinforces the guide's core message in this whole clarification section. Having these precise phrases ready in your toolkit allows you to stay calm, maintain a professional or polite demeanor, even when external factors like speed or clarity or connection issues are making understanding really difficult. You have a verbal means to repair the communication breakdown.
It turns what could be a really frustrating moment, maybe you make you want to hang up, into just a manageable interaction. All because you have the right linguistic tools ready to use.
Okay, fantastic. So, wow, we've taken a pretty comprehensive deep dive into the key techniques and phrases presented in this guide on handling phone calls in English.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We've explored how to initiate calls, both formally and casually, and looked at the different ways to answer. We've covered those essential phrases for navigating the middle part of a call. Things like asking for someone, handling holds or transfers, leaving messages effectively. And critically, we've hopefully armed you, the listener, with the language to tackle misunderstandings by asking for clarification, knowing whether it's because you didn't hear, didn't understand, or just had a bad connection.
That really covers the foundational elements that were outlined in the source material we looked at.
Yeah.
And these techniques, as the guide consistently emphasizes through its examples and its practice suggestions, they really are the building blocks for sounding more confident, more competent on the phone in English.
Absolutely. And the guide doesn't just dump all this information on you and then, walk away. After presenting all these phrases and scenarios, it gives you a clear path forward, a call to action, which it labels a challenge task.
Ah, the homework.
Sort of. It's a practical way to immediately apply what we've just spent all this time discussing.
Okay, what's the challenge?
Well, the guide's recommended challenge is quite specific, quite actionable. It breaks it down.
Practice actually making a phone call, deliberately trying to use the phrases we've covered today from the source.
Active practice.
Step 2. Choose one of the real-world scenarios that the guide provided as examples earlier. Things like calling a hotel to make a reservation, or calling a restaurant to order food, or maybe calling a company about a job opening. Typical formal or semi-formal interactions.
Right. Pick a realistic situation.
And step 3. This is the important bit, I think. Record yourself speaking the conversation. Try to sound as natural and confident as you can while using the guide's phrases.
Recording yourself. That's brilliant advice. A bit cringy, maybe, to listen back.
Maybe a little at first. But it provides such objective feedback, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can listen back and really hear where you might hesitate or where your intonation could be improved, or maybe if your pace sounds natural or a bit rushed. It's a safe space to practice and refine your delivery before you have to do it in a real live call.
Totally agree. The guide strongly encourages this kind of active practice, and it's completely right. Moving from just knowing the phrase in your head to being able to use it smoothly, automatically when you need it, that's where the real confidence comes from. Consistent practice is the absolute key. It's what transitions the knowledge from the page, or from listening to us talk about it, into an actual internalized skill. It builds that familiarity, that automaticity, which allows you to just retrieve and use the right phrase under the, slight pressure of a live conversation without having to consciously search for it.
Yeah, spot on. And thinking about that, the source material itself seems to offer a little glimpse beyond just having the right list of phrases. It kind of hints at the next stage in mastering phone communication.
Oh, what's that?
Well, it mentions looking ahead to sounding more natural in English conversations overall. And it got me thinking, while having these specific phrases ready, the ones we pulled directly from the guide today, is a huge, essential first step. Maybe the true journey to sounding genuinely natural, as the source puts it, involves integrating these phrases so seamlessly that they just feel effortless, like that they're just part of how you speak.
That makes a lot of sense. It's moving beyond just correctness to fluency and naturalness.
Exactly. It's not just about, correct grammar or having the right vocabulary list memorized.
No, it's about the rhythm of the conversation, isn't it? The appropriate pausing, the subtle shifts in tone depending on the situation, the overall fluency that allows these structures, these phrases from the guide to just flow as part of your own voice, your own style. And that level of ease, that naturalness, as the source implies, through its constant emphasis on consistent practice, it's built over time. It comes through application, through repetition, through actually using the language. The phrases are the essential building blocks, for sure, but dedicated practice is how you learn to assemble them into a fluid, natural-sounding conversation.
That feels like a really powerful thought to maybe end on for you, the listener.
Yeah.
It's not just about saying the technically correct words that we got from the guide today, although that's the foundation. It's maybe aspiring to say them in a way that feels comfortable and authentic to you.
Finding your own voice within those structures.
Exactly. And that journey, that path towards naturalness, it starts right now by taking these practical tools from the source material, these phrases and techniques, and actually putting them into practice, doing that challenge task.
Absolutely. So really embrace that challenge task the guide suggests. Record yourself, listen back, try again. Their closing sentiment really resonates strongly. The more you actively engage with these phrases and these scenarios, the more your confidence will inevitably grow.
Keep learning, keep practicing, and you'll definitely find yourself navigating those English phone calls with significantly greater ease and hopefully a lot more confidence.